All right, well, welcome back, y'all, to Playing It Safe. I just felt like I needed to get on here just because I was listening to my kids the other day playing, and it really brought up some things. So, children, they love to play, and they can use their imagination. So I really thought of this as like childhood play and creativity. And so the other day I was, cleaning or something, cleaning the sinks, who knows, and I can hear my kids play in their bedroom. And the cool thing about them playing in a bedroom is or the cool thing about them playing is that they're playing make believe and pretend. And back in my day, I sound really old when I say that, right? But back when I used to play that, it would be like, oh, you're the mommy, you're the daddy, there's, going to the store. Well, these kids were all Avengers, you know. One was the Hulk, one was Thanos, and, they were Guardians of the Galaxy switching out. Even though Thanos is a bad guy, they forgave him and let him come in, and it was really cool. I was getting a lot of joy and laughter listening to them, and it really made me think about childhood play. So I teach a class of critical thinking, and we go really deep into creativity. And a lot of people think creativity is, coloring, arts, music, those kind of talents. And it's really not necessarily just that. It's really just allowing yourself to be open to ideas. And, the creativity is if you can proceed with those ideas, if you can, finish those goals and, the solutions you get to overcome those goals. So, for example, I really dive into creative minds. So as children are more creative, they take risks, they try new things, children act on impulse, and children don't think about fear or of being ridiculed. Okay, so think about as children. Think if any of you have children or if you watch kids play, maybe you don't have kids yet or you don't plan to, that's okay. But think about when you see a child play or think about yourself as a child. All the things you used to, all the mistakes you used to make, right? You used to repeat them, get hurt. Like my kid, I have one that keeps running into things. Just, Jesus, she can't watch the wall. Just watch the wall, okay? Watch where you're walking. She continues to get hurt. Continue, you think, oh, lesson, it's a lesson learned, right? And reality is that at this point there is no lessons yet learned. It's just acting on impulse and really, acting without fear. And then as we progress, and especially as we get to, transitioning to puberty, we slowly become adults, and as adults we become more fearful of being ridiculed, right? The weight of reality begins to smother our imagination. We focus our attention on the nuts and the bolts of living rather than playing with the responsibilities, and we really conform to social pressure. And this is my whole practice of this, right? Like, stop conforming to societal roles, social pressure, gender roles, you name it, right? We conform. And it's like, where did that transition come from? I always, and when I show this or when I talk to students about this, I always like talk about this one pads commercial. Yes, menstrual products, okay, I'm sorry, but it's a funny commercial. And it's really shows it shows these little girls, right? And they're recording them, and these little girls is like, okay, run like a boy. Yeah, I mean, sorry, run. Show us how a girl runs, and she runs like a boy, right? Or what we would say a boy is, she runs fast. Or we say, show us how you fight, and then she, fight like a girl, and she's punching really hard, right? Throw like a girl, and then she's throwing really hard. And then they, show this video, and they show older women doing this, or even some boys doing that, and they're like, run like a girl. And now they start, running really catty side to side. They say fight like a girl, and they start using their hands like if they're doing cat fight, like they're gonna their cat fight. That's what the stereotype is. Or even throw like a girl. You see these older women um, throw really not aggressive. They just throw really softly and really dainty. And so, the whole thing is like, well, why did you do that? These girls, these little girls that they first interviewed, had no idea of being, the stereotype of not being strong, not being able to fight, or not being as athletic as the boys. And so there's a portion, especially when we're hitting puberty, that we start conforming and we start being more afraid of ridicule. But the reason why I really focus on this part is that there's some of us that there's very few of us that as we get older, we don't allow the ridicule to stop us. But the majority of us, we fall to those social pressures. And why, where did it come from? Well, a lot of us are just afraid of being ridiculed, right? And it's like, have any of you ever came up with a great idea and then you presented it to the group and the group laughed at you or didn't think it was a good idea at all, and so you were shot down, you felt embarrassed, so therefore you don't speak up anymore? Or maybe you said you wanted to, be something when you get older, and then you were ridiculed or laughed at and said that's cute, that's funny, or that's not a real job. So we really conform. And as we conform, we start to lose that creativity and we start to lose that focus of where we need to be at, I guess, or how we progress. And so when I was listening to my kids play, it reminded me of this because I too always have to talk to myself. I always have a pep talk, right? Like, hey, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling this way? I know it sounds crazy, but I'm always talking to myself. Even if some people can see, it's okay. But I'm always just trying to figure out, why am I not, I guess, just allowing, why am I afraid of fear? Why am I conforming to the social pressure still? And so this weekend, for example, we had, as friends, we went out to the fair without kids, and it was so nice. I had to remind myself, let's have fun. Like, a few of the guys went on a ride, and let's just enjoy ourselves. Let's not let this, adulthood really put that pressure on us. Or now that we're parents or with the responsibilities, we can't just enjoy ourselves and go to that portion, right? So one thing, and I think I mentioned this before, is that because we conform and we're afraid of failure, we forget that people that are successful had lots of failures. And so one of the quotes I like to use, I use it in my class, it's by a book that I use by John Chafee. He talks about that the history of creative discoveries is littered with failures. It's a fact that we tend to forget when we are debating whether we should risk an untested idea. Those people who are courageous enough to risk failure while expressing their creative impulses are rewarded with unique achievements and an enriched life. Again, we tend to focus on, you know, that social pressure. We don't want to be ridiculed. We don't want to take that risk. And to be honest, being rejected sucks, right? I'm still trying to go out there, trying to do my ideas. I have a lot of, a planning of what I want, just goals I'm trying to get. And let me tell you, I'm pretty creative and empowered and bold, but I get a lot of rejection. I still get a lot of people who don't see the idea. I still get a lot of like, oh, I don't see how you're going to do that. Hey, where are you going to find time? You have 5 kids. You don't have time for that. I still get a lot of ridicule. And as much and as strong as I am, it still could bother you. Rejection and ridicule is not fun. It sucks. Right. So it's trying to make sure that we like hold an optimism for ourselves. One thing I used to do is I used to work also with foster youth. And when I worked with the foster youth, it was with I used to work with the transitional foster youth where they transition out of the system. So it was like, teaching them to live on their own. How they had through the system, we got them their own apartments that they shared with the roommate. And taught them how to, do a budget for where they live at, help them get a job, help them get into a school, budget for hygiene, budget for food, teach them all these real life things, right? But one of the things that I would teach them is I did really tough love in the sense that when I first started, for example, we would go get groceries. They had to go grocery shopping and they had a budget. It's not me buying the groceries. It's, they had money, or I would give them the money, that they were allocated, and they had to buy groceries with it. But we used to take them in a van. Like it'd be, we had a van that the company had. So I would drive them once a week. Well, when I got there, I drove them one time and then I warned all of the kids, they were young adults, but I warned them all. I was like, hey, so next grocery visit, we're going to walk. I'm going to get you baskets, those little like old granny baskets you see people pulling with. I say old granny because I always saw my grandmother with one. We're going to get you one of those and we're going to walk. And I got a lot of the kids not so happy with me, saying that's ghetto. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to walk. And I had to teach him, hey, if you're going to live out on your own, there is no one driving you to go get your stuff. You got to do it yourself, right? Who's going to take care of you? No one. And, having to show them that no one, and this is going to sound really mean right now, but no one's going to love them or take care of them the way that they can love and take care of themselves. So, same goes for all of us. No one's going to love you and take care of you the way that you can love and take care of yourself. And that's really important because as much as, my mother loves me, as much as my husband loves me, as much as my family loves me, they're not going to be able to love me the way I'm going to be able to love myself. And they're not going to be able to take care of me the way I'm going to be able to take care of myself. I'm not going to be able to necessarily rely on them to pay all my bills, right? I have to figure this out myself. And it wasn't like, hey, it's not that I don't care for you. It's just that no one's going to be able to take care of you the way you can take care of yourself. So, with that in mind, if you have that mentality, being able to know that who who gives a damn about these other people, right? Who cares what they say? Because why do we continue to let people to influence us negatively when they're not taking care of us? They're not paying our bills. I've become a little bit more upfront about things, or maybe I care a lot less about others, and it's not because I am a careless, non-empathetic person. It's just because I realize these people, whoever they are, whoever is trying to give me attitude, they don't have any, impact on my life. They're not the ones that are paying my bills. They're not the ones that have to live with the decisions that I make. I'm the one that has to do that. So I always have to continue to remind myself that when I feel that rejection, when I feel that self pity party, as I call it, and mind you, I have a lot of self pity parties. I do. I can't help it. I go through the emotions. I am a human. I'm normal, and I go through a pity party for myself every once in a while. But the thing is, I have to continue to talk to myself to not let it, overpower me, not to let it overtake me, and not to let that stop me from what I, have to do. Life is a marathon, right? On a marathon, if any of you have ever tried one, I've done it once, well, twice technically. I regret both of them because it's a lot of work and it's really painful and it's hard on your body. But life's a marathon. And with this marathon, we just got to be able to pace ourselves to continue to keep on going. Sometimes we sprint and we want to get there quicker, and I totally understand that. But a lot of times we want change and we want it now. Same thing, when in like my husband's case, he trains people. And I fall into that too, right? Same thing is like when I want to get in shape. Hey, I want this. I want it now. How come I've been working out for 3 months and I haven't got my reward yet, right? We got to understand that these things take time. And I do understand that. It's taken me a long time to understand that what I want takes a lot of time and a lot of work. So make sure that when we're going through life, we know that it's a marathon and that you can mentally prepare yourself for that. Now, when I'm looking again at being creative and living creativity, a lot of times we believe that we are destined for something. So we become discouraged really easily about our lives. And a lot of times we believe that this is, you know, um, destiny, that's the way it's forced to be. So therefore, I can't do anything about that. Again, when we allow and follow those social pressures, we can easily fall into that and just believe this is the way it's supposed to be. And by the way, I grew up that way. I grew up just thinking, somebody who grew up with a single parent mom. I grew up in a Hispanic household, grew up really, low social economic status. So I just assumed that people like me, meaning people that like us, that look like us, that we couldn't, this is just life. That we can't afford vacations, we can't go beyond what we're supposed to, and that's the way our destiny's supposed to be. I literally used to believe that, and so it takes a lot of will to overcome that. It does. It's not easy, and sometimes I might fall back into that. It's really easy to mentally allow yourself to get trapped that way. So, one thing that we have to know, that even though we might have difficult circumstances that might, you know, uh, interfere with our successes, we have to make sure that we have a creative mind to oppose those negative feelings, to make sure that when we do fail, know that it is okay and expect to fail. Okay? It's okay to fail. It's okay to mess up. How do we learn if you don't mess up, if you don't, if you're not falling? So we have to be able to be okay with falling and failing in order to learn and trying to figure out how do we do this again. And so the whole thing is just trying to make sure that you all can be creative, keep that creativity, allow yourself to have that childhood play. And that way, by doing all this, it can build your confidence and it can shape and you can become the person that you want to be. So make sure that you all are still doing that. If you have any questions or anything you want to share, I continue to interview people. By the way, I'm still interviewing a lot of people. The reason why I haven't posted them up on podcasting yet is that I am on a few-year project trying to get some books out where it's showing, people in non-traditional employments to show how they progressed and how they got there. And so a lot of that material is just me working on it. I'm doing recordings, but it's really so I can transcribe it and write it out. And that way I could have it, so I could publish it, because I think it'd be an awesome thing for others to show that there's people that look like you that are in really awesome positions that they worked hard for, but they were creative and did not mind failing. I mean, it's my whole thing is really sharing the failures, so that way you can see that you know that you can get there. You can get where you need to be at, or you're still trying to figure out what you want to do. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, and I know I always say that, but I'm like literally not killing it. I still am trying to figure out what does this life have for me. I like that feeling of the transition and us progressing. And I was talking to someone recently that reminded me, because of the position I'm in. I've mentioned this before. I work at a college, a community college, and I'm a tenured professor, right? And in the tenured, that's where people expect you just to be there forever until you retire. And this person reminded me, like, hey, Veronica, you do realize, like, the majority of the world of people who work at a job for a few years, and then they can transition to another job, try something different, or get promoted to a different company, and people have those life cycles and keep going. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can make those transitions. I can make that. I shouldn't feel so conformed and held to this forever position kind of deal. So again, I know I mentioned that I'm trying to figure out what I want to be, and I still am. This is a work in progress. I'm trying to remain creative. I'm trying to remain refreshed. I'm trying to remain hopeful, optimistic. I really am a true believer of being positive, and the positivity around you will, you'll attract positivity. I know I'm sounding like a hippie, but it's okay. And, I'm a believer about putting it out in the universe, putting it out there and making it happen. So, as you all are listening, make sure you're making it happen. Feel free to send me a message. My email is at playingit safe000 at gmail.com. Please feel free to share this. And, if you want any topics we can discuss, I'm always willing to. I've been reading some more books and I want to do some I'll be coming back with some insight about some awesome things I've read. And let me clarify, when I say read, it's really audio version, right? Everyone knows who knows me knows that when I read, I literally fall asleep. But as far as the audio, definitely I could listen to audio all day long. Hit me up, share, like, subscribe, and I look forward to speaking to y'all soon. Until the next time, y'all have a good one.